Hello, and welcome, my friends, to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity to stay consistent with your marketing and reach more customers. My name is Penny, and I want to guide you through this content development process. I used to say it was about creating engaging content and reaching more clients, but it's more than that. It's about understanding how your marketing fits in your business so that it's not only helping you reach your goals, but it's making sales, it's showing momentum. Marketing is such a huge piece of this when it comes to being a small business owner. So if you want to learn more about how all of this connected develops your content marketing plans, I would love it if you would hit that button below and subscribe to the channel. And below, I like to tell you what's in the description box. There's several links in there. One of them is you're going to see something for the Content Prompt Playbook. This is a free download, and I know you're already using AI. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you those prompts that you've been looking for. The way that you can ask the questions so that you connect what your business does to what your customers actually need. And the next link that you're going to see is that you can join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective. This is my group program. We meet once a month on Zoom, but you'll also get a strategy workbook because we focus on a specific marketing skill and topic that's going to help you with your business. So you see the links below. You know what to do to learn more. All right, so let's jump into today's video because I want to talk about something that we have been talking about in the Marketing Strategy Collective this month. It's about this moment when this happens. When you reach the end of the week and you're looking back and you're thinking, I know I was totally busy this entire week. So why does it feel like my business really didn't move forward? It just felt like I was busy. Is that what they call busy work? Am I just being productive, but nothing's really happening? Is that what it is? And if you've ever thought that, I want you to know something. You are so not alone. In fact, I feel very strongly about this because of the conversations that I have with so many clients, as well as our monthly calls that we have, that I think one of the biggest frustrations that small business owners experience is this. You know, it's about thinking that you're doing all of this stuff for your business, but at the end of the week, you can turn back around and go, what happened? So I want to talk to you today in this video. In this video episode, let's talk about this. Because it's not just about productivity tips. It actually comes from a different mindset shift. And if you start to look at this differently, I think that your business can start to grow. And I don't mean just because you're going to have better marketing. I think when you look at things differently, when you look at these opportunities that are here in front of you, it's about creating a better process, a better system. And I don't mean something like a complicated system like big corporate people do. A small system, because you're a small business owner. Simple, repeatable things, and it's way that you're going to get that important work done every week. So when you look back at the end of the week, you will see that you did get things done because you have these systems in place. And it's one of the biggest competitive advantages that your business can have. So let's talk about what this is and why this is so important. Because I think let me start that again. I think most of us started our businesses, especially as a small business owner. If you came from the corporate world, if you came straight out of college, if you came because you got an idea, and that's how you started your business. I think a lot of us have this mindset that if I just work hard enough, if I get enough stuff done this week, that means my business can grow. Tiny little steps make bigger advances, right? And don't get me wrong, hard work matters, especially if you're a small business owner and you're wearing, a dozen different hats, because that's a thing that we all have to do. But I want to tell you something. After working years, and I mean years, 25 plus years with small business owners, I have noticed something really, really interesting about all of you. Because there's a lot of business owners, a lot of people out there working and just pushing themselves, maybe like 60 hours a week, and they still feel stuck and they still feel like they're in this productivity hamster wheel. But then you've got people over here, business owners who are working not 60 hours, maybe even 30, maybe even 25. But they're doing that because their businesses are growing and seeing momentum every single day. And the difference isn't because of the hours, because if the person for 60 hours is still feeling stuck, but the person for 25 hours is seeing growth, it's not the effort. It's what's happening in those 25 hours versus what's happening in those 60 hours. And what's happening in those 25 hours is a business owner who is not making hundreds of decisions every single day. And they've created a way to get things done and get them done efficiently and effectively through a system. And the other one, for 60 hours, is constantly reinventing their schedule, constantly implementing things and strategizing things and doing. And the other one who's doing 25 hours is executing their plan. And that's a very different way to run your business. So when you hear people say systems, I think that what happens is, especially as small business owners, and if you've never worked in the corporate world, you really have a different perception of what it is, because you imagine that it's something complicated, like a big, giant operational manual and a 3-ring binder that has to sit on your desk corner. Or maybe you have to buy like expensive software, or you got to figure out how to use spreadsheets, and develop pages of documentation. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a system that simply is a repeatable way of doing something that's important, that's going to create growth in your business. Okay, let me give you an example here. So let's say that every month you'll get a new couple of clients that come in, whether they're from your group program or whether they're one-on-one with you. And so every month you do this client onboarding type of process where they get emails, they have to sign up for their introductory call or whatever it is that your product or service does. So you've got, like a thing that happens. So when somebody signs up, they get this email. And then that email leads them to this. And then they have to do this. And they have to do this. That's a client onboarding system. So when you think about that, and when somebody comes to you, when you have that system in place, and especially if you have it automated, let's say that you put them into your email program and it automatically sends them the email. And when they click on this link, because then they can automatically set up their call with you. All of these things become automated, but they didn't become automated and together until you created your onboarding system. You see what I mean? And when we think about it from that place, systems can be not just for clients. They can be our content calendar that we use every single month. It could be following up, how we follow up with clients. You have a follow-up system. A system is basically something that you're consistently doing. And what it does is it creates an opportunity for you to remove unnecessary decisions. Because every decision that you make is just something that you know over and over and over again. So what I want to think about is let's bring this to marketing here, because we can say that we're setting up a system for onboarding. We could say that we're setting up a system for how we create images. We could say that we have a system for how we create our videos. It could be something as simple as setting up a checklist. What are all the things in the programs that you need to use to do a live stream? That creates a system. And so if we think about it from that thing, it just becomes something that becomes set up in such a way that if you were not the one managing it, and you sent this information to a virtual assistant to a VA, that person would automatically know exactly what it is they need to do. That's what the system is all about. And it becomes something, and a lot of it is sometimes things that you would consider that you just know off the top of your head, but you just do it anyway. If we think about it like that, and I want to bring it back to the idea of other things that we do in our life, like brushing our teeth. Let's say, for instance, we know we have to brush our teeth. We actually have a whole dental care system that we've set up. Some of us might manually brush. Some of us might have, one of those power toothbrushes. We have a special toothpaste that we use. We do it in the morning. We do it at night. Do we use dental floss? We don't ask, am I brushing my teeth today? You have a system. And it happens automatically. And you know the reasoning behind it and why you do it. But you don't think in your head that I have to should I brush my teeth today? You just know to do it. So if we think about it from that, there are things in our life like that, and you wouldn't have thought that that's a system. But now that I'm describing the repeatable behavior, and you think to yourself, that's exactly what that is. I don't have to think about it. I just do it. And that's what setting these systems up do, especially when it comes to marketing. Because when we look at marketing, if you don't have a system in place, like every Monday you're asking dozens of different questions and decisions. What am I posting today? What's going on today? What am I promoting this week? What are we talking about in this live stream? There's all of this stuff that's happening. So if you're trying to get it all done, with the system in place, it's reducing these decisions. Because what happens is, let's say that your goal is to be consistent, right? I want to be consistent with my marketing. Okay, so let's use this as an example, because maybe the toothbrushing isn't as applicable to your marketing. So let's say one of your marketing goals is, I want to become consistent with my marketing, right? And to become consistent, that means everything from the content calendar to understanding what you're going to be sharing and making those content and marketing decisions, right? That decision word keeps coming up. Its decisions are directly connected with these systems. And when we have these systems in place, it makes consistency easier. And when consistency becomes easier, that's when momentum begins. And that's when your marketing becomes more than just something that you're going to do, like a to-do list that you're checking off every single week. Consistency isn't just about making your life easier. It's about making your business more trustworthy. We think about that. Think about the businesses that you follow. The ones that are visible, that are consistently out there, the ones that are regularly sharing, some valuable information, the ones that are showing up and communicating their messages, and you totally get what they're doing. And over time, what happens when you see that? You trust them. And not because every post that came up was directly towards you and what you needed, but because they consistently showed up. Well, your customers are the same way. And so are these experiences that they have. Because when they visit your website and it's updated, when your emails arrive, when your onboarding feels organized, when your follow-up is actually happening, they begin forming an opinion that this business is professional. This business is showing up. It's not just showing up consistently with these marketing messages. They're showing up on their website. They're showing up when I reach out to them or when I sign up for something. And what happens that way is these systems that you've now created communicate, I'm a professional business and I'm going to help you, without even having to say that on your website. Because I always believe that trust is one of the most valuable assets your business can build. And people rarely buy just because they saw this one really great post. They buy because they've developed confidence in your business over time. And every consistent interaction becomes another reason for them to trust you. And that's why systems matter so much. A system isn't just doesn't just help you and your side of the business. It's also improving your customer's experience, and it makes every interaction more reliable, more trustworthy. And this reliability brings confidence, and the confidence in your business is what's going to turn into sales, and sales is going to turn into referrals, and referrals is going to turn into growth. So you see how all of these pieces and parts come together. Because when you zoom out, it's amazing how that growth that I just shared with you started as something as simple as documenting a process and setting up a system. And that's actually, it's interesting that we're talking about this. And I know why we're talking about this today, because this has really been on my mind. We are actually focusing on that this month in the Marketing Strategy Collective. We're talking about systems and standard operating procedures, and that SOP word, which so many business owners like, oh, that's a corporate thing. That's not anything having to do with me. But what we're doing is I'm showing them how their next breakthrough is going to come from creating this system. When we take a step back and we ask questions like, what's a repeatable system that I can build that will make my marketing easier next month? That's what we're talking about. It's about, the practical examples, not just, how to do a system. Because when you see your business through the lens of a system, you start spotting more opportunities. You start thinking about creating a system to get more done, to be more efficient with your time, more effective. And remember at that last, turn around at the end of the week, we can see what we've done, and we see the results that we've done, and it didn't just feel like busy work, right? Like crazy busy work. And I get it, because when you think about creating a system, are you also concerned, if you're not familiar with this process, that you think that your business is going to turn into like a robotic checklist every single day, where there's not going to be fun in my business. I'm going to have to follow every single one of these systems so I can get things done. That's a good question, and I sense it out there. That's why I brought it up. And I get that, because nobody wants to go through their day moving one checklist to the next checklist to the next checklist, because that's, at this point, we might as well have just gotten a job in a corporate world. And that's not what we want to be doing. What I want you to think about is this. Because when you think about it as like some checklist after checklist after checklist, in a 3-ring binder, and it's overwhelming you at that moment, I want you to understand the irony of that question. Because actually, when you do build systems around the repetitive work, you're actually creating more room for creativity. You're giving your brain more space and more energy to think strategically. You'll have more time to write, more time to develop more content ideas. You'll have more time to innovate new products, new strategies, and what you're working on with your business. Because a system doesn't replace your creativity. They actually protect it, because it's giving you more time to get the things that you really enjoy doing in your business, and spend less time doing all of that repeatable stuff that you constantly have to do, but you have to do because it's important for your business. So you get all that, right? And you're like, okay, I think I'm going to do a system. What am I supposed to do? Okay, before you sit down and think that you have to document your entire business this weekend, don't do that. I want you to start small. If you've never done anything like this before, ask yourself one simple question. What is one task that I repeat every week that contributes to the growth of my business? Maybe you publish a blog. Maybe you record a video. Maybe you onboard clients every single week. Maybe you're working on your social media or writing a newsletter, or you review your marketing metrics or something like that. Start there. Document the steps. Test out the process. And when you start documenting your steps, is there another app that you could use? Is there another program that you could use? Is there a program that could combine 2 or 3 steps together? And what's going to happen is you're going to improve over time. And then when that system gets set up, you move on to the next one. And your business grows system by system. Don't try to do it all at once. And let me tell you, when you are sitting here and trying to figure out how to develop a system, one of the best things that you can do is use your favorite AI tools. So let's say you're trying to do a system for onboarding clients, and you've been doing the same way for years. So you open up your AI prompt and say, I'm going to describe to you how I onboard a new client. I want you to organize my process into a step-by-step system, or SOP, standard operating procedure, and point out any missing steps that could improve the customer experience. See, now what you've done when you put that in is you've taken your knowledge that only existed up here in your head and turned it into a repeatable business asset. And then keep that conversation going. Just don't say, okay, that's fine. Then I want you to ask things like, what parts of this process could I simplify? Or what are the biggest opportunities to automate this task without making the customer experience feel impersonal? See, this is the part that I love about AI. When we start to use AI like a thinking partner, not just a writing assistant, this is what happens with it. We have the opportunity to imagine what could happen. We feel like we no longer have to remember every single detail, especially like our client onboarding. If something happens consistently, if your marketing is following this rhythm, if your content process was documented, if everything was a habit, then wouldn't your business feel more organized? Wouldn't the people on the other side feel the professionalism coming from that client onboarding experience? Wouldn't you have more time to think about how you're going to grow your business instead of constantly putting out fires or sending the same email over and over and over again? That's what small systems create. And it's not something that happens overnight. It is more like one documented process at a time. So I want to leave you with something as you're thinking about this. As you're thinking about this idea and you're thinking about, I want to see if I can do this. And before you tap into your favorite AI tool, start with this one question. What is one thing that you repeat every single week that, if it becomes a system, will help you see growth in your business? Don't look at everything. Just look at one thing. Write down the steps, refine them, improve them, use AI to help you organize them, and look for missing opportunities. Because every time you do this and you turn repeated work into a repeatable system, you're creating a business that's consistent. And you become more efficient and more effective. And you find opportunities to continue to help you grow. Because remember, businesses don't scale just because you're working harder. You're working 60 hours and I'm doing 25. You scale because the work that matters the most becomes repeatable and it becomes more efficient with your time. And that's the real power of these small types of systems. They will quietly create consistency, and that consistency is what builds trust. And that trust strengthens your marketing, and over time, that trust becomes the foundational for you to see sustainable business growth in your whole business, not just your systems. So thank you so much for joining me today. If this video today is starting to give you some ideas to learn new skills and new things for your marketing, I would love it if you would hit that like button. And then do me a favor. Share this with another business owner, especially somebody who has been struggling with growing their business and they may not know where they're getting stuck. But if you are wanting to take this further and you are more than interested in joining us in the Marketing Strategy Collective, we like to take all of these ideas and turn them into a content plan that's actually going to drive you sales. So stop working in a solo bubble and find out what it feels like to work in a collaborative space to get the marketing help you need, because you are magnificent, my friend, and let me be the first to say I'm proud of you. Until next time.